Ya.
Sudah? Okay.
Ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the University of Science and Computer Technology, STEKOM University in Semarang, Indonesia, for the webinar International Event Entrepreneurial Pathway to Entrepreneurial Success. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Novita, and I will be hosting you for today's event. Now, let me welcome our special guest for today. Welcome to the Honorable Dr. Salimah Alias, as an Associate Research Fellow, Center of Excellence for Social Innovation and Sustainability from University Malaysia Perlis. To the Honorable Dr. Abdul Dahri, as a postdoctoral research, Faculty of Business and Communication from University Malaysia Perlis. To the Honorable Ms. Risma Nurhapsari, as a lecturer of accounting department from STIE STEKOM University Indonesia, and also to the last associate professor Dr. Ummi Naiemah Saraih, as a head of Center of Excellence for Social Innovations and Sustainability, and last but not least, also to the honorable guests and audience today. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping notes here. Today's session is being live streamed on Universitas STEKOM YouTube channel. And for today's event, we will start with Indonesia national anthems and continue with the opening speech by Dr. Teguh Santoso as a rector of STEKOM University, represented by Mr. Wibi Ardi Alfianto as a director of student affairs. And the next session, we will start with the main event presentation by our special guest for today, handled with our moderator today, Associate Professor Dr. Ummi, and continue with the Q&A session and take a picture for documentation and last time for closing. Further, for the square of this morning agenda, we will sing our national anthems. For the operator today, you can start this session. Thank you. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First, now we will invite to the stage the most responsible person for the conduction of this skill international event to give an opening speech from Dr. Joseph Teguh Santoso, represented by Mr. Wibi Ardi Alfianto. For Mr. Wibi, the time is yours. Thank you. I'm sorry, sir. Suaranya tidak terdengar. Still no.
Okay, I'm sorry for technical error. Okay, greeting to all participants and also the honorable student and all participants. Thank you very much for giving me floor. Like it's my pleasure to have a couple of words of this webinar. First, I want to introduce myself, as Doctoral, representing Dr. Teguh as a rector for a few words because in today's session, our rector can join in session because of some of his activities. First, I want to express my gratitude to the international office from University Malaysia Police, Malaysia, City University, and STEKOM University from Indonesia for organizing such as network of such events which are very useful for students from many countries. And for the partnership, we are good partners with all universities today. And then I would like to express my gratitude to all university employees who are involved in arranging series of webinar with participants of experts from different countries. But this initiative finally inspired specialists and motivates them to share their experience for such practice of arranging this kind of event are crucial part of the internationalizing of higher education in today's topic and outline with the significance of the art of effective communication. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, through this webinar international event, I hope you can get more information about the art of effective communication. And finally, I wish you to enjoy the program today and for participants to get new knowledge in this session today. Thank you and enjoy this event.
Thank you for Mr. VP. And we will go to the main event for time presentation. The next session will be handled with Dr. Ummi. The time is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good evening from Malaysia to all of the participants who joined us today in today's event. We have the international webinar as for today's event. First and foremost, I would like to express my congratulations to all of the STEKOM member, especially thank you to the Bapak Rector for organizing this insightful and impactful event. Okay, and as for today, we have a very important topic on the art of effective communication. So we are also will have 3 speakers from Malaysia, Bangladesh, and also from Indonesia. Therefore, we will hope that this session, by the end of this session, all of the participants can get a very informative from the deliverable of the session that will be delivered by our speaker. So as for today, we are going to proceed where the speaker giving 20 to 30 minutes to deliver the presentation, and after that the Q&A session will be followed, and the participant can write the question on the chat box. Therefore, right after the third presenter have finished the presentation, we are going to look at the question and we will address the question to the speaker that we have today. All right, do not further ado. As for the first speaker of today's presentation or today international webinar, I would like to invite our first speaker, Dr. Salimah Alias from University Malaysia Perlis, from the Department of Communication, Faculty of Business and Communication, University Malaysia Perlis. And at the same time, Dr. Salimah also acting as the Associate Research Fellow in one of the Center of Excellence in UniMAP. We call it CoESIS, okay, Social Innovation and Sustainability, CIS. Okay, so not to the further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Salimah Alias to deliver her presentation. So the floor is yours, Doctor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dr. Ummi. Okay, I would like to share my slide first. Okay, can you hear me? Yes, okay, good. All right, so Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to everyone. All right, so first of all, I would like to say thank you to all of you for coming to these presentations. And also, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you to STEKOM University and the organizer who invited me as a speaker for today's webinar. All right, before we start, I would like to say a few words about myself. Okay, okay, I am Dr. Salimah. So as have been said by Dr. Ummi, I'm an Associate Research Fellow at the Center of Excellence for Social Innovation and Sustainability at University Malaysia Perlis, or we call it as UniMAP. I'm also a Senior Lecturer at Faculty of Business and Communication, also at University Malaysia Perlis. So after this, if you want to interested to contact with me, you can find me at this email, salimah@unimap.edu.my. All right. So I have 30 minutes to talk about our topic today, the art of effective communication. So I would like to start with the definition. What is actually effective communication? So to understand what is effective communication, we need to understand first what is communication. So communication is actually the process of exchanging informations, ideas, thoughts, feeling, or message between individuals or groups through various channels, mediums, and methods. So communication can be in a medium or can be through verbal, non-verbal, written, listening, and visual. So as long as it is a process of exchanging information, whether between individuals or group, between individuals and group, or between individuals and group, or between individual an individual or between groups and group, as long as it is the process of exchange information, so it is referred as communication. Okay. So actually, communication has three characteristics. Okay, I would like to highlight the three characteristics of the communication process. So the first one is communicators simultaneously send and receive. So as you know, when I talk about communications, or when we imagine what is communication, we will imagine that there are a person who will talk and there will be one person who will hear. So actually, and usually we will label the one who actually speak is someone who send the message, and the one who hear is receiving the message. So it is right, but actually in communication, this process or these characteristics happen in one time. You are as a sender, you also receiver. So communicator is the one who actually sender and receiver. So because when you communicate, you become both the sender and receiver, because you are actively engaged in the process at the same time. Okay, I give you one example lah. Just as when you have a conversation with someone, you have a conversation, you talk about something, and actually at the same time, okay, so you are senders because you send a message, you talk about something. So the one who actually hear your conversation is the one who is considered as receiver. But actually you are also a receiver, because all of the response that given by the receiver, like their non-verbal cues, whether they are interested or not, their face, their emotion, all of that is a reaction. So you as a speaker, you also get that as a reaction, as a feedback. So you also receive it. So communication happen, communicators happen, the receiver and the send process happen simultaneously at one time. And then the second one, we also need to understand that communication is a process. Okay? Why it is a process? Because it is a complex and ongoing process. It called process because it involves many steps, okay? Many and interconnected steps. Okay? This step include converting thought into a message, transmitting the message through a communication channel. Okay? It's also a step about receiving the message, the step of interpreting the message, and usually when you get the message, the process of providing feedback, providing clarification, or providing reaction to what you hear, and so on. So it involves many steps. So that's why we refer communication as a process, because it is not a one-way step or one-way relationship, one-way direct step, and so on. It involves many steps. So it is a process. And the second one, we also need to understand that communication is irreversible, because once a message is sent, it cannot be taken back or undone. Okay? Because because communication has a lasting impact. Okay, the words, the tone, the message that you have delivered can have consequences, because it become once you share the information, when you deliver information, it becomes a part of receiver understanding, a part of receiver memory, and also their perception. So that's why we say that communication is irreversible. Okay, I give you an example. Okay, just as at the restaurant, you want to order foods. Okay? You go to the restaurant, you call the waitress, and then you try to say what you want to order. Okay. But at the same time, the receiver, the waitress doesn't show you a very welcome reaction, like their face is not smile and so on. So even though the waitress doesn't say anything, their reaction itself become a part of your perception towards the restaurant. It doesn't anymore feel excited to eat. It doesn't feel anymore excited to order, right? Because it become a part of your memory and understanding and perception about the restaurant. So after this, you maybe so it will the consequences, you maybe will not come again to the restaurant because it doesn't feel happy. Okay, even though maybe after this the restaurant post something at their Facebook or so on, like they are improving on or something, but it will affect you as the one who actually experienced that experience. and it will affect you, and the feeling of doesn't want to go to the restaurant will or will have impact, and it's not easy to be undone, right? Okay, so that's why we said communication is irreversible. Okay, so that is communication, and also effective, and it's actually okay. So as a conclusion, how we can consider communication is effective? So effective communication is transactional. Okay. This will happen, and effective communication will happen when the communication happen involve give and take relationship between sender and receiver in order to establish a common understanding. So as I mentioned before, communication is about exchanging informations, ideas and feedback and so on between the person, between the sender and receiver. So that is the relationship. But in order for the communication to be effective, it must be give and take relationship in order to establish a common understanding. Sender and receiver are both parties are actively engaged, and work together to interpret the meaning, to interpret the information or message to become an meaningful information, or to become an intended action, or to become an intended message that the both party wants. Okay? So this is actually the principle of effective communication. So it is a give and take relationship, and the communication will produce the intended message and also an intended actions. Okay, I will proceed. So back to our topic. The name itself is the arts of effective communication. So what is art of effective communication? So actually, the word art is actually refer to the skillful and deliberate practice of conveying informations, ideas, thoughts, and feeling in a way that is clear, concise, meaningful, and understood by the intended audience. So it delivers the intended message that produce an intended action. So why it is art? Because art is actually referred to your strategies. How you want to be creative in order to plan on how you want to communicate with others. Your strategies and plan that an individual could have in delivering their message and ideas. So it refers to the technique that you use. It refers to the skill that you use. But because when we are talking about communication, there are no set of rules, or there are no set of strategy that can be used. It is actually depend on the audience, depend on the context or content. Okay, that's why it is art, because it depends on your creativity, on how to strategize whatever you want to say, whatever you want to deliver, so that it become effective. People understand and get what you want to try, what you are trying to say. Okay, so that is art of effective communication. So yeah, communication is the full for progress. It is the glue that links your thinking to your success. Yeah, because there are many things that happen in our life. Fail, or you cannot achieve the thing that you want because you cannot communicate effectively. So effective communication is very important, because it is the one who actually link your thinking, what your thought, okay, to your success, to your action actually. All right. So actually there are many important, but I will choose 4 main important that I think why effective communication is important. Okay. First one is building relationship and trust. So effective communication is important to build relationship and trust. Okay? With effective communication, it will form the foundation of strong relationship, because you can communicate clearly and authentically. So you can build trust, respect, and rapport with others. So as we also know that there are many relationships fail because they fail to communicate. They fail to say what they feel. They fail to show the appreciation to their partners, to their friends, and so on. So why they are fail? Maybe because they don't have the art to have the effective communication. So that's why communication and effective communication is important in building relationship and also trust. And then the second one, effective communication is also important for conflict resolution. Okay, because every day in our life we facing a conflict. Okay? Even I believe some of you have conflict whether you want to wake up or not, want to go to class or not, want to eat or not, where we want to eat or not. So every day we are facing a conflict. Okay? So and that is a conflict with ourselves. How about if we have conflict with others? So we need some bridge or some link that can provide a clear link to get the cooperation between the parties, right? So because when we have miscommunication, it can lead to misunderstanding and also conflict, right? So when we have effective communication skill, it will enable individual to address conflict constructively, find common ground, and reach resolution that satisfy all parties involved. Okay? Conflict resolution is effective communication in conflict resolution also refer to when you have a good negotiation skill. Okay? You can tolerate and negotiate with others so that people can see what are you trying to give and what you are trying to take and so on. Okay. And then the second one is leadership and influence. Effective communication is also important for leadership and for influence others, for motivators others. Okay, so because effective communicators are often seen as a strong leaders. Okay, because they can inspire and motivate others. They share their vision and guide teams to achieving common goals. So effective communication is important, especially in organization, because we always work within a group. So to have a leader that can deliver a clear goal, a clear and structured work, so it will help the team itself, the members in the team itself, towards achieving a common goals. Okay. And then the fourth one is effective learning. So effective communication is important in effective learning because in educational setting, effective communication from instructor, from teacher like me, from lecturer like me, ensure that students comprehend the material thoroughly. Okay? Similarly, students who communicate well can engage in discussion, ask questions, and actively participate in the learning process. So all of this process ensure effective communication and ensure the understanding of the students. Because as a lecturer, we do not want to only convey the knowledge. We do not want students to only know the knowledge, but we want students to understand until they can create or innovate new ideas. So it is important to have effective communication to ensure that students understand the knowledge that we want to convey. All right, so that is the important. Actually, there are many more important effective communications, but this is what I would like to highlight. So how we want to have an effective communication? So as I mentioned at the first or second slide, I think there's no set way to communicate that will work for everyone, because effective communication or great communication demands customization to your audience and context. It will be different based on the background of the audience. It will be different based on the context. It will be different based on the language, and so on. There are many indicators that that will change how should you talk, how should you work, how it will affect your strategies to communicate. Okay? So there's no set way, but there are some essential elements that should contribute to the effective communication. So I would like to highlight 7 essential elements that may contribute to the effective communication. First is structure. Second one is clarity. Third one is consistency. 4, medium, relevancy. 5 is relevancy. 6 one is primacy and recency. And the 7th one is psychological rule of 7 plus minus 2. Okay, so we will look at all of these elements one by one. Okay, the first one is structured. Okay. So structured is about how you structure your communications, how you structure your message, okay, to make it easily to be absorbed and understood by your audience. Because every good communication should have structure, and usually every good communication have these 3 structured elements. Okay, the first one is an opening, a body, and a close. Okay, so an opening is referred to the introduction. So usually at first when we want to talk with people, we need to have an introduction so that our audience will mentally prepare on what we are trying to convey. They are ready, they are in the directions to try to understand what we are trying to convey. Okay, and then a body. A body is about, then we will start to explain about our topic, about the message that we want, that we are intend to deliver. Okay? And lastly is a close. Okay, close is a speech that showing audience that we are coming to an end. So this is a common structure that we can use to make sure that that we have a structured communication to ensure the effective communication. And then the second one is clarity. So clarity is about clear message. So as someone who want to speak, or someone who want to communicate, make sure to be clear about the message you want to deliver. Okay? Because giving a confused message to your audience only ends up with them being confused and your message also being ignored. Okay, so how we want to be clarity? So usually clarity is also related with simplicity. So we can use simple words, we can use simple language, okay? And of course explain slowly to ensure the meaningful message being shared. Okay. And then the third one is consistency. So the consistency is about being consistent about what you want to say, right? And sometimes consistency can happen like such as for today, we have a topic, so we are focusing on the arts of effective communication, and so people are clear with that. So be consistent with the topic of the arts of effective communication, and sometimes in the topic of the arts of effective communication, we might have many rules or many things that we want to explain. So if you want to move to the other topics or to the other elements, you can explain it one by one, then move on to the next topic. Okay, and one technique that easy to actually ensure consistency is you can also repeat your point. Okay, always repeat your point to make sure audience get the point. Okay, usually we can see this in advertisement, like any advertisement like Coca-Cola advertisement. Okay, usually in advertisement they will choose one thing to emphasize. Like if I see Coca-Cola advertisement, their theme is refreshing. Okay, refreshing. So when refreshing is their theme, so they will be consistent with that theme. They will not focus on the taste or not. They will focus on when you drink Coca-Cola, you feel refreshed. So they will have sound like the sound of ice and so on. So it actually focus the audience to see Coca-Cola refreshing or something like that. Okay? Okay, like we as a woman, we also always like women always right. Okay? Sometimes not like women doesn't know that they are wrong, but women want to be consistent that they want men to always give in. Okay, so that's why we always be consistent with that. Okay, we always doesn't want to give up. Okay, because we want to be consistent with that. So repeating a point is also a good technique like to be consistent. Okay, and then the fourth one is medium. So medium is about the platform that you use to convey your message, and especially nowadays. Okay, it is important to choose a medium because we have so many mediums. Okay, nowadays we have so many medium, online medium, social medium, and so on. So choosing the right medium or media is obviously critical. Okay, because a right medium could add context, emotion, and many non-verbal cues that we want to add that actually help us to deliver the message so that the audience understand what we are trying to say. Yep. So the way you want to choose the medium is actually based on your audience, based on different occasions. Okay? Like in a class, like in a face-to-face class, okay? We can use slideshow. We can use microphone is also important. Okay? Like in the online class, maybe you can use like Zoom, Google Meet, and so on. That all is actually a medium. Okay, sometimes we also have videos, okay, to share, because that the video itself become a medium for us to actually share what we are trying to say, that represent by the video and so on. Yep. Okay, and then the fifth one is the relevancy. So the relevancy is also important because we have to be realistic. Okay? Not everybody will be interested in listening to us. Okay? Because what some topic is not relevant to the audience. Okay? Just as if you are talking Malay, so if especially like a language barrier. So if you are talking to someone who are not really understand English, so it will be not relevant to the audience because they don't understand, something like that. Yep. As a lecturer itself, as a lecturer in physical class, face-to-face class, we can actually have more control about how to make us relevant. But if in an online class, such as in online class, it is very hard for us to teach university students in online class because we cannot control, we cannot provide any platform or any additional material so that that will help our teaching and learning. Okay, so the relevancy is also important. Okay. And then the third one is primacy or recency. So based on this concept is actually refer based on the psychologists, where the psychologists call the effect of remembering the first few items presented as a primacy effect. Similarly, they call the effect of remembering the last few items presented to you as recency effect. So this is important because this concept is also important for us to understand, because we actually realize that audience are attracted to the first few items because that is the something that they remember, and also the last item presented. Okay? That's why when you want to present or to communicate with others, interaction is very important, and also a clues. Okay? Usually, at the body or the content is something that have possibility like for the people to ignore or to not hear. Okay? It is important to focus on the introduction and also to the close, to the end. Okay? Based on the effect that the psychological as a primacy effect and also the recency effect. Yep. Okay, and then the last one. Okay, the last one is the psychological rule of 7 plus minus 2. Okay, psychologists have long known that the human brain has a finite capacity to hold information in short-term or working memory. Okay, and the brain also structured to retain information in cluster or group of items. Okay, and this cluster, based on the psychologists, it actually based on the psychologist research and so on. Okay, in average, this cluster, the brain can actually operate the information in 7 item plus or minus 2. Means if you want to provide a point, you should choose between 5 to 9 items. Okay, because that is the capability for human to remember or to hear. Okay? Like if you provide 10 items, it will be difficult to the person, to the individual, to remember or to get the information. So if you are a speaker, try to use only 5 to 9 items. 7 plus minus 2. Okay? So that is the thing shared by the psychologists. Right? Okay, that is actually the one of 7 essential elements that can be referred or can be used if we want to have effective communication. Okay? But most of all, actually the important key in effective communication is I outlined 3 important keys. The first one is you or the speaker itself. Okay, because if you want to communicate something to others, firstly you need to understand what you want to say. Okay, it is your responsibility to make the message understood, but first of all you need to understand and to master first whatever you want to say, whatever you want to communicate with others. If like feelings, if you doesn't know what you feel, you cannot tell others what you feel. So the first one is you need to be clear on what you want to say and what you want to deliver, and then you see your audience, and then you start to consider the background, the gist of the audience, the preference, and so on. Okay? And last one is the context piece. So you need to also consider the relevance of the context. Means in order to have effective communication, we also need to see the situation, whether the situation is suitable or not to convey the message. Maybe the place is noise, maybe the audience is not ready, the technical issue, and so on and so on. So this is the important key to summarize when you want to create or when you want to strategize your communication to be effective. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ummi.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation, Dr. Salimah. So I think it is better for us to collect and gather all of the questions and try to proceed with our next presenter. Okay, so our next presenter will be Dr. Abdul Dahri. He is teaching in Shahid Benazir Bhutto University, Pakistan. Hi, Dr. Samad. How are you today?
Hi, Prof. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. How are you?
Salam. Okay, and maybe as for the brief information, at the same time, Dr. Abdul Samad also is one of the postdoctoral researcher that attached with the Faculty of Business and Communication, University Malaysia Perlis. Okay, so to not further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Samad to deliver his presentation. So Dr. Samad, the floor is yours.
Okay, I believe I shared the slides. These are appearing on the screen, I believe.
Yes,
and
very nice. You can see clearly. It can be seen clearly, Doctor. All right.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And I think I have some issue with my camera. Zoom is not detecting my camera. I don't know why. And I believe my voice is clear and it is reaching to everyone. So my voice is okay, right?
It is fine. You can be seen. Your audio,
Okay.
your video also in a good condition.
Okay.
You may
I think
proceed.
it's properly working. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. And since everybody is quite literate and you guys are already have good knowledge about communication, and Prof. Salimah already has given details on what communication should be, and I will not be lecturing or something like this. I'm here to just to discuss few things that I have observed and let you know about my experience that I have been through, because here I think the audience is a mix of students as well as faculty members and senior faculty members and honorable, respectable international audience as well. So great, and I feel not good about being lecturing about things. So I would be just talking about few little things that I think are very important in communication, and especially in effective communication. And when we talk about delivering message, as Prof already have given you the slides, how the communication is broken down. I believe communication is two-way process. What we generally do is that sometimes we talk only, right? And believe the other person is perceiving our message perfectly. And sometimes we believe that sometimes we just only listen and we presume, we assume that the person that is talking, and we are receiving everything that is being said. So I'll be just going through the slides, and then I'll be discussing some important things that are important in communication. Just moving on to the next slide. So it is about the importance of communication, and a definition of effective communication. So communication is basically the combination of two, listening and talking, but in a effective way. Number one. Number two, the context may define communication, effective communication, and every context may define it different. Every country may define it different. Audience may define it different. I mean, the definition of the effective communication might vary. So we cannot say like, let's say Pakistani accent, Indian accent, Bangladeshi accent, European accent, Malaysian accent. These are, affecting somehow the way the words are being said or the message is being delivered, right? And so I would not say there is a specific definition for communication. Yes, importance definitely is high class. It says if you want to pursue some person, or sell something, or you want something, communication is the key. And it is not necessary that you communicate through voice only. It is not necessary that you communicate from physical symbols. So communication is a combination of both, everything, and everything is counted in communication. So yes, it is important. I'll just move on and try to give some examples that are important, that will emphasize how communication is important. So just going through the elements of communications, of course, given us the detailed slides, and everybody among us knows that effective communication or communication simply is consisted of 7 C's, earlier 3 C's, 5 C's, and now 7 C's. So consistency, clarity, concise, and everything included. So clear, concise message. So this is one of the commonly known communication. But active listening and looking for the non-verbal cues is very important part of effective communication. So let's move on to active listening. Significance, definitely it is significant. If you have listened the whole lecture, but you have missed the important part, so your whole lecture is gone. So what are the tips? These are the limited options: eye contact, maybe paraphrasing what have you heard, or you can ask. Active listening also includes, you can ask what has already been said. Like, for example, if the question answer session in this webinar or in any seminar or other thing or conferences, these are basically the part of effective communication. You are the audience rephrases the summarizes or rephrases the words the speaker says, and confirms and asks the questions from the speakers that you said this, so it means that. So this is how paraphrasing or active communication includes. Active also listening basically also includes a person should be attentive, right? Should be making eye contact, right? And it is said that 55% of any communication is consisted of body languages. So go for the signs, body language, right? So go for that one. Don't interrupt, number one. Be empathetic and match the feelings of speakers. It doesn't mean feelings means like if they are sad, so start crying with them. It doesn't mean that. Empathetic means getting to know what he is going through, the pain, or the importance, or what impact that speaker is trying to make, or how important that topic is for the speaker. So you try to realize that thing. So be empathetic. be respectful, do not interrupt. Sometimes it happens that faculty members in lectures say that questions and answers, questions would be taken at the end of the lecture. It is very effective because during lecture there might be some questions in this mind of the students, but once the lecture is completed and delivered, the students might get clear about their initial questions, and they ask the last remaining questions at the end. So it is one of the part of the effective communication. So and another thing that Prof. Salimah also indicated that importance of the communication is that it is important in conflict resolution. So things were there important. Yes, effective communication is important. But what should we be doing in effective communication? We should stay calm when we are resolving conflicts. This is one of the major key points. If you are going with the flow, you might end up in a war or something like in more trouble. And another important thing is that in effective communication, the listener must let the speaker finish first, or the teacher or the faculty member, let them finish first. It is said, let me just give you an example. It's like it's glass full of water, and you trying to start pouring more water. What will happen? The water will flow out because the glass is already finished, already I would say overspelling. But what happens when you let the speaker finish first? This is equal to empty glass. Now whatever you're pouring, it is absorbed or it has been taken. This is how important you should be letting the speaker finish first, or the lecturer, or the teacher, or whatever. And another thing, this is the part of active listening, and I would be moving on now to the talking part, right? Yes, of course, the listening part in communication is important, because if you completely receive the information, process the information, and understand the information, now what you're doing, you are listening effectively. Once done, now you move on to talking part. As I said earlier, that listening plus talking includes concludes communication to me. Now here comes the most important thing in talking part. As I said, when you are actively listening, 55% of the communication is body language, which you should be observing. While in talking part, this percentage could vary, but it's still there. They are important. 7% of the communication when you're talking, like you're speaking, 7% the impact is made by the words. Then another important thing, tone. The way you speak in high pitch or low pitch, this is more important, because 38 to 80% of your communication when you're speaking, right, speaking part, when speaking is based on the tone, how you say the words, right? If you are delivering important word, say it in a paused manner, slower manner, very clear and concise. That we say punchline in generally. That is the punchline of your communication, talking part. So it consists from 38 to 80%. 80% now, as Prof. Salimah said, people are using mostly mobile phones, and they are texting more and they are chatting more, but not speaking, not speaking more. So the words selected have more value in text format. So this is also important. Another thing, I'll just be giving not the lecture, but just the the experience or things that I believe are important. As I said, body language and overcoming barriers. I'll be speaking about them as well. Clarity, asking questions, feedback, design strategies, effective communication in practice, real life scenario benefits, effective communication, building relation, resolving conflict, influencing others, being leader. And I'll just be finishing this lecture, but sharing some another important important facts about the talking part of communication. That, as I said, your communication is made effective, yes, with certain checkpoints, but your occasion, audience, type of audience, and the urgency of that particular subject, changes the way you should be speaking or, delivering that particular message. As I said earlier, that your voice tone does makes a huge difference. As if you notice, I'm not, reading, some pretext or something in a constant monotonous pitch, because everything has importance, but at a different level. So voice tones make a huge difference, in communication. Let me just give you an example. It is said that this is not I am saying, but throughout out of the research, it is proved that when it comes to male audience versus female audience, so female audience do have a huge check on the tone of words that are being said versus male gender, right? So this is how important. And as I said that we have audience right now here is a mix. So we would be delivering speeches or important key points in a different tone that would be more effective and more valuable for everyone. So shortly, moving on, technique number one, and the line goes on, by the way. Breathing technique. Whenever we are speaking in public, try to calm down first. Do not breathe from the lungs. Try to hold air in your stomach rather than in your lungs. Whenever you start breathing faster through lungs, what happens is what I say. I mean, like you would be exhausted earlier. You would be feeling exhausted. Your voice start trembling. Therefore, do not speak from your lungs. Try to store your stored air from in your stomach. That after practice, it will happen. Miraculously. And take pauses. And try to be slow whenever you are sharing important thing, or you are trying to disclose something, or you're trying to emphasizing on anything. You try to you become overwhelmed, right? And so it is difficult, something that is very important to you, and you believe that is important for the other person as well. You become overwhelmed and you speak faster. So try to speak slower, take pauses, and be very clear. And as I said, that 7% of our words do make an impact, but I believe words chosen are far more important than in our whole communication, plus the body language as well. As I said that it is said that people will forget what you said, but they will remember how you said it, right? I generally try to tell students that there are two ways of saying everything. There are two ways of saying everything, right? One way, it will destroy you. The second way, it will make you. So, I mean, try to accomplish you, lead you a success path. So try to, take a pause. As in active listening, what happens is, when you listen, process, and understand, then you take, once you have understood the message, now you take a little pause. Do not be reactive. try to be proactive, right? Once you have done this, now you can respond properly. This, after some practice, this, this gives us a good clue of how should we be doing this one. Importance of words in communication, yes, of course. Words, delivered from humble person make you humble. Words, delivered to you from an ambitious, successful leader make you ambitious, motivated. And words from tyrant or despotic leaders, destroy nations, create war. So this is how much important is the words are. Above, I am just putting the whole thing into a canvas or a glass, if you say. By saying this, from as I was taking these points from the effective communication and all that stuff, I was wondering, personally speaking, I was wondering that if from Islamic perspective, if you have a true Muslim speaker, you do not have to worry about effective listening, active listening, or powerful, impactful communication. Let me just clear it this way. For effective communication, the speaker must be true and committed to himself or herself. The power, and once you are committed and true to yourself, the confidence in your voice comes in. The confidence, builds trust in the speakers, or the listeners, audience. Once the audience believes or trusts the speaker, they try to be, whatever the message is being said, they just absorb it, completely. A true Muslim does not lie. Number one. Number two, whenever you are speaking in public, do not be hopeless. So Muslim is not a hopeless person. These both combine a confident person. So therefore, I say, a Muslim should be effective communicator as well. This is what I personally believe, because if you have a positive, confident, committed, and clear mindset, you would be, speaking out very clear, valuable words. These come from, prestigious books, good books give you good words. Good confidence comes from, the people you are surrounded with. These all things, mindset, people, and the good books, make a good, powerful, positive, opportunity seeker, person. And whenever you build that person, your communication becomes more powerful and becomes more effective to any audience, anywhere, anytime, at any platform. So this is what I believe, that before we go for the speaking, we should have some checkpoints on our character. Number one, active listening. Number two, power, the power of words. Number three. Number four, the tone that you are saying these words. And number five, finally, how true are you to your own words? So this is how I conclude my part of effective communication. Let me just give you a little example. Interviews today in European countries are being taken by the AI software, right? The AI checks your eye contacts. The AI, checks your voice tone. The AI checks your words and matches all these together with your face expressions. If you are true, your score goes up. If your score goes up, then you are more, a candidate that can be taken. So this is how I believe. respect and all the things that Dr. Nur Salimah said, and little things that I have shared with you. This is, I believe, the effect we can make any communication very effective. Thank you so much.
Okay, you are most welcome, Dr. Abdul Samad. Thank you for your experience sharing and your insightful and informative information through your presentation just now. So for your kind information for all of you, up to this stage, we already have about 4 questions from the participant, and I will keep the question until we finish the presentation from our third speaker. Okay, to not further ado, I would like to call upon our third speaker from STEKOM Universities. All right, so our speakers is Risma Nurhapsari from STEKOM University. Sorry if I pronounce your name not accurate. All right, so Risma, okay, do not further ado. Please proceed with your presentation. Okay, we are ready to hear your informative
Assalamualaikum
presentation.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Prof. Ummi as the moderator, and thank you to Mr. Joseph as a rector of the STEKOM University and all team in the webinar. Introduce my name is Risma Nurhapsari. I'm a lecturer at STEKOM. Maybe the previous speaker has explained about the art of effective communication. So I will add a little about the material. This time the webinar material that I will present is about the art of effective communication. Let me share PPT. Okay. The art of effective communication. To communicate effectively, we must realize that we are all different in the way we perceive the world and use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others, by Anthony Robbins. What is communication? Communication is the activity or behavior of conveying message or information about thoughts or feelings. And communication is the transfer of information and understanding from the one person to another. And then communication is trying to hold equality with other people. Yeah. More example, communication is the process for exchange thought, message, and information that occurs because of the desire to make something happen. This is a picture emotional reaction. The picture number 1 is a happy emotion. Emotion that give a picture of pleasure, for example, happiness, joy, and love and joy. And picture number 2, the sad emotion, a description of the feeling of the displeasure experienced due to a conditional factor, for example, shame, empathy, disappointment, and grief. And number 3, fear emotion, a condition where there is an image of being unhappy, but from within and outside of oneself. For example, fear of not going to class, fear of trying new things, and so on. And for for angry emotion, description of feelings toward objects such as the environment, social relationship, people's behavior, and even. This is the picture is the process of communication, a sender, a message sender, encoding channel, decoding, receiver, and feedback. The process communication sender, individual, group, or organizing that initiates communication known as a communicator, a message, any notification, word of communication, both oral and written, which is sent from the one person to another. Encoding, translating information into message in the form of symbol that represent ideas or concept. And then channel, which means used to convey the message, decoding the receiver, beings to interpret the symbol sent by the sender, translating the message into their own set of experience to make the symbol meaningful. Receiver, the individual to whom the message is intended, and feedback, the last link in the communication process chain, and noise, a factor that has a negative importance on the communication process. Type of communication, verbal type, non-verbal communication, written communication, and visual communication. The number one, verbal communication. Verbal communication is the use of language to transfer information through speaking or saying language. This is one of the most common types, often used during presentation, video conferencing, and the phone calls, meeting, and the one-on-one conversation. And then verbal communication is important because it is efficient and it is helpful to support verbal communication with nonverbal and written communication. And then nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is the use body language, gesture, and facial expressions to convey information to others. It can be used both intentionally and unintentionally. For example, you might smile involuntarily when you hear a fun and exciting idea or piece information. Nonverbal communication very helpful when trying to understand the thought and feeling of other. Okay, and then visual communication. Visual communication is the act of using photograph, art, drawing, sketch, chart, and graph to convey information. Visual are the often used as an art during presentation to provide useful context alongside written and or verbal communication. Because people have different learning style, visual communication might be more helpful for some people to absorb idea and information. Okay, and then written communication. Written communication is the act of reading, type, or printing symbols such as letter and and number to convey information. This is very helpful because it provides record information for reference. Writing is usually used to share information through books, pamphlet, uh, blog, letter, memo, and more. Email and chat are common from or written communication in the workplace. Characteristic of effective communication. Number one, communication is a process. Communication as a process. Two, communication is a deliberate effort and has a communication purpose. Communication demand participant and cooperation and actor influence. Symbol communication, transactional communication, and the last communication through factor and space. Number one, communication is a process. Communication as a process. This means that communication is a series of action or event that are sequentially they are stage or sequence and are related to each other within a certain period of time. As a process, communication is not static but dynamic in the sense that it will always change and make place continuously. Number two, communication is a deliberate effort and has a communication purpose. An effective that is carried out consciously and internationally and accordance with the goals and desire of the actor. The definition of conscious here indicates that a person communication activity are fully control and control not in a dream state. Deliberate means that the communication is carried out in accordance with the will of the preparation, while the goal refers to the result of the effect to be achieved. And then number three, communication demand participant and cooperation and actor influence. Communication activity will take place will if the communication partner two or more people are both influence and both have the same concern for the topic of the message being communication. For symbol communication, communication is basically an action carried out by using symbol. The symbol most commonly used in human communication is verbal language in the form of the word, sense, either orally and or in writing. Five, transactional communication. In transactional communication, condition that the success of communication is not only determined by one party, but by both parties involved in the communication. This means that communication will be successfully if both parties involved have a agreement on the matter being communication. And six, communication through factor and space. The point is that the participant or actor involved in communication do not have to be present at the same time and place, especially with the existence of various communication technology products such as telephone, fax email, video text, or internet. There's two factors. One, time, and two, place. Not no are no longer a problem, are a barriers to communication. And then barriers to effective communication. Obstacles in communication: physiology and semantic. Physical obstacle due to physical condition, convention, distension, interruption, internet network, or communication device. And psychology Obstacles that occur because of internal problem such as feeling of disappointment, anger, fatigue, stress, grief, or certain psychiatric disorders. And then semantics, obstacles caused by error in the use of language, such as many foreign jargon that are not understood. Different language or inappropriate linguistic structure. And then prepare for communication. Prepare for communication, know the purpose of conveying the message, whether to inform, give opinion, or seek approval, so that it is easier to publish the of the message and the choice the right media. Plan the either constant content of the message before delivery. Know clearly the recipient of the message to determine the contents of the message, starting from the grammar to the terms used. And then feedback. Uh, Confirm reserve message to ensure there is no miscommunication. And three, active communication. Perform two-way communication to reduce barriers to communication. Do not assume because the truth can be doubted. Better to confirm the communicator's intent. And then listen actively, not to answer but to understand. Uh, Tips for building relationship based on communication. Occur preparation. Make sure your interpretation of the situation, conversation, or any written material is accurate by validating information and seeking additional clarification before getting on action. And then double check, uh, paraphrase take what someone said to you so there is no room for miscommunication, or ask open-end follow-up question until you are satisfied with the facta. This might take more time, but you will dramatically increase the reliability and accuracy of the communication exchange. And then appropriately wait to read until you have a possible information. Your initial response might be emotional. Learn to hold into you really know the full story, and whether the emotional reception is appropriate. And then have fight, believing that will be a positive resolution to very communication problem, and optimist and forward thinking outlook can help some smooth and challenge in interpersonal relationship. Nothing is impossible to fix unless the other party is unwilling to cooperate. Deal with, learn to tackle problem head on. Often the individual behavior is the source of the noise, not the situation or information. Address the behavior head on, and you will soon be smoothing and the communication process and establishing positive resolution. Okay, thank you. So many presenter for me. I hope they are useful and I can add insight to all of you. Then I return to the moderator, Prof. Ummi. Thank you, Prof. Ummi.
Thank you, Madam Risma, for your nice presentation. All right. So maybe you also can share your materials later in the chat box. And I also would like to ask Dr. Samad if he can also share the material just now into the chat box. Okay. Now we will start the Q&A session, and I received 5 questions here, all right, from the participant. Number first is from Brother Suharso, Mr. Suharso. Okay, the question is, what effective strategies would you say when two persons have a dialogue and then get stopped? Okay, so can we ask this question to Dr. Nur Salimah? Okay, I repeat the question. What effective strategies would you say when two persons have a dialogue and then they get stopped on the sudden, maybe?
Okay, thank you, Prof. Naiemah. So the question is, what is the effective strategies when there are two person having a dialogue and they what?
And they have a dialogue and on the sudden they stop. So how to continue?
First of all, we must identify why they are stopping, whether it is because of technical issues, whether what is the factors of why the conversation is being stopped. So then actually the question is, okay, the effective strategy. So for me is you need to settle the problem of why the conversation is being stopped first. Then we can talk about what kind of effective strategies that we can use that to continue the communications. Yeah, I think that's all from me. What do you mean?
Therefore, we must try to find the cause of why they are stopping the conversation before we can solve the problem.
Yeah.
All right. So can we hear any words, maybe any response from Dr. Abdul Samad regarding this question? I also have cut and paste the question on the chat box. Can we hear some response from Dr. Abdul Samad? What effective strategies would you say when two persons have a dialogue and then get stopped? Okay, maybe according to Dr. Nur Salimah, we need to find the roots of the cause first, and then only we can strategize the way to continue the conversation. Any words from you, Dr. Samad? Is Dr. Samad still here? Maybe we can continue to Madam Risma. Any suggestion from you to make the conversation can be continued?
Yes, Prof. Ummi.
Yeah.
Repeat your question. I'm sorry.
The question is, there are two persons having a conversation, and on the sudden they become stop the conversation. So how can we manage this?
Okay. Okay. Wait. I think number one, I see the coordination when speaking with her is disturb other people, and then if our conversation is disturbing, then we should stop, and the last ask the interlocutor a form of communication that is comfortable and absurd. I think so.
Okay, thank you for your response. Maybe I also agree with what have been presented or answered by both of the speaker, right? So maybe we need to identify what is the reason first. Maybe it is because of some of the technical issue or some of the situation issue that made the conversation stop. That's why we need to identify the root first before we can take the further action. Okay, now I think it is better for us to maybe ask the second question to Dr. Samad, if he is still available with us online. So question number 2 is, how do you build self-confidence in someone who is an introvert so that he can communicate fluently with strangers in the world of business or work? This question is from Mr. Faiz. Okay,
Yeah,
anyone from, okay, Dr. Samad is here now. Can we
yeah,
hear any response? Okay.
yeah. Thank you so much. Important question, and yes, of course, the speaking part also makes a huge difference when it comes to the personality. And yes, of course, introverts people have some difficulty. As I said earlier, before going, I mentioned it very, in a punchline format. Before going for public speaking, or like as I said, examples that salespeople, effective communication is important for salespersons. Before going, public, or if you want to go, on stage, you might have seen many personalities or many people on TEDx talk. Uh, these people share, their experiences and life situations. So number one, I would suggest find a person that is exactly like you, or maybe reflects you when they share their story. He or she shares their story on TEDx talk. I'm not just promoting the platform. You can find any person. Number one. Number two, uh, start practicing now. Right. Uh, if you are thinking, how would I do? What should be the best practices? You are already too late. Start now. There's never too late. When you start now, there's never too late. So start now. Speaking what I would share an example that is very local to us. You might have heard Tablighi Jamaat people, right? And they give dawa, right? Uh, there's very specific quote in these guys. They say, if you heard some good thing, if you know a hadith, start sharing it. Don't wait when you be very perfect to share. You accumulate so many hadiths, and then will be a dawa person or a good speaker. Start now. Whatever you have learned from this webinar, start now. Number two. Number three, be true to yourself. Set your goals first. If you are clear about what you are going to deliver, you do not have to worry about your confidence. You don't have to worry about who would be listening. You don't have to worry about what people would think. It's not your thing to think. It's their thing, the audience thing, that they would be thinking about you. So start speaking, deliver your message. Just keep checkpoints, and I would not say go for the 7 C's. I would just briefly say brief, specific, concise, slow, to the point. This is something which will accumulate about 60 to 70% of your message exactly delivered the way you want it. Now just your body language, tone, and the words that you select. The rest remains with these factors. And with practice, definitely you would achieve your the barrier of communication, I would say. Professor Dr. Salimah has already given you a very good slide about the barriers of communication that you can remove, right? So the details would be there. This is my suggestion. So I hope I have answered the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samad, for your nice answer, and also for your insightful answer. All right. So it means that to make or to build confidence in our staff before we start the communication, either we are in the type of introvert or extrovert, first and foremost, we need to be very clear with the information that we would like to deliver. And after that, any of the single, maybe what we call it, nervousness and any kind of obstacle later can be solved slowly. But the first and foremost, be true and clear with what we are going to talk about. All right. So thank you for your answer. And now we move to the third question. All right. If you can see the question, it has been pasted into the chat box. Number 3, the question is from Mr. Sukamto. All right. The question is, how can we interrupt someone who is very talk active so that we can also be dominant when in a communication? Okay. Anyone can help us to provide the answer for this question? Dr. Salimah, or maybe Miss Risma can help us with this question. How can we interrupt someone who is very talk active so that we can also be dominant when in a communication? Maybe there are a dialogue between 2 or more person, but the first, the dominant one is very actively speaking, and then how we can try to jump in the conversation, okay, without make it like a very in a proper way, maybe. Anyone can share?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Just sharing one thing. You know, there's many speakers you might have heard, or you might have listened or watched, on YouTube and in your real life. When they speak, I'm just forgetting the name of the person. He's just, amazing when he says things, right? He is very clear, to the point, and simply slow. Exactly, just I said, it creates value in your, in the pause that you make. Actually, when you speak, people listen. And the first line that you say, if it is very clear and about what you are saying is relevant to the context, it makes sense. And whenever you make sense, no matter who is talking, the other person, they will shift to you. Number one. Number two, see, some people try to stiff their body. As I said, communication does include body language. So they stand in a broad position, in a confident position. The body language that you put yourself in does makes a huge communication. The things are communicated to the audience that are watching you. These are, I believe, these are the two main things that should be considered.
Okay, thank you. Anyone who will add to this discussion? According to Dr. Samad, maybe the first one we need to watch or use the appropriate tone when we would like to interrupt the conversation. And number 2 is to display the appropriate body language in order to let us can jump into the conversation. Okay, maybe Dr. Nur Salimah want to add something?
Okay, for my opinion, actually, I think this issue is commonly happen in a setting of when you are with your friends, in a very informal setting. Because when it is in professional setting, educational setting, you are being provided with your turn to speak, right? Usually like that. So maybe it is more on personal issues, right? In your family, with your friends, with your colleague, and so on. So I also agree with Dr. Saman. First of all, we need the information. Like if you have friends that are really talkative, and you need to prepare yourself with the information, what kind of discussion that your friend will share. And then when you are in the conversation, you know what to say. And then when you have what to say, okay, when you have the information and the details, it is more easier for you to find the opportunity to interrupt properly. If sometimes, usually we cannot interrupt because we are losing the information. We doesn't know what to say. So I think the first and foremost, yes, you have to have the information. You have to know your friends, to know your family, what kind of discussion that they always talk, and then you need to provide yourself with all the details or the information and get ready to join their conversation and stuff. Yeah, that is for me.
Thank you, Dr. Nur Salimah. Okay, now we go to the Question number 4 from Miss Wendy. The question is, do we need to study psychology to interact with people? Because from what I have learned, we must be able to know what the character of our interlocutor. Okay, I'm not so, okay, what is the character and what he likes? All right, maybe interlocutor, I'm not so familiar with this terminology. Maybe this is just to relate. Do we need to master in psychology in order to make us can interact very good with other people? Okay, anyone can help us to provide the answer for this? Maybe Madam Risma can help us with this question.
Interlocutor.
Anything from Dr. Nur Salimah?
Okay, maybe I could add some view from myself. Okay, first of all, psychology. Okay. Do we need to study psychology? So psychology is a scientific study about human, about their emotions, about their behavior, and also the thought of the human. So that is psychology. So actually you didn't really need to study psychology, but the point is you need to understand the people, understand the needs of your audience, the needs of the individual that you will have dialogue with. If you have more information about the people that you are, the other people, about your receivers or about your audience, so it will help you to have the effective communications, right? It will be a good additional point or a good additional strategies to understand your audience, to understand the other individual that you will have dialogue, your friends or even your family, your parents. So if you understand them, then you know how to plan to talk effectively with them. So do we need to study or not? I think you are not really need to go to the field of psychology, but the point is you need to understand the people, your audience, your receiver, and so on.
Yeah, I also agree with you, Dr. Nur Salimah, because maybe psychology is a very broad field. So by understanding characteristic of our audience, all right, the characteristic, the personality, therefore we can try to suit ourselves in order to try handling the conversation, right? It means that we need to apply different approach to different people, to
Yes,
different
exactly.
audience, because the audience is come from a different or various background and also having different kind of personality. So in order to make us can use a good or the most effective way in do our communication, therefore we need to understand who is our audience and the person that we are going to interact with. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nur Salimah. So I guess we only have one last question. Okay, the question is from Cecilia. Okay, I'm going to read from here. Okay, so the question is, a moment. All right. But Miss Risma is not here. Okay. Cecilia addressed the question to Miss Risma, but I got the information that Miss Risma is having another task at the moment. So the question, okay, Miss Risma is back now. So the question is, what are the steps for verbal communication? And what are the characteristics of effective communication? So there are two questions. What are the verbal steps for verbal communication? And what are the characteristics of effective communication?
Okay.
Okay, Miss Risma.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Ummi. Thank you, Miss Cecilia, from STEKOM University for the question. The step for verbal communication and what are the characteristics of effective communication? I answer what are the characteristics of effective communication? In PPT, characteristic of effective communication, six are six. Number one, communication is a process. Communication as a process. Number two, communication is a deliberate effort and has a communication purpose. Number three, communication demands participant and cooperation and actor influence. And four, symbol communication. Five, transactional communication. And the six, communication through factor and space. And then step for verbal communication. Verbal communication. Verbal communication step or verbal communication, sender encoding, channel decoding, receiver and feedback. This is a verbal, the process of communication. I think so, Miss Prof. Ummi, and thank you.
Thank you, Miss Risma. Okay, I think this is enough for us to have 5 questions for today's session because the time also is about to reach it ends of the program. So I think we can use all of this information based on all of the insight and ideas and thought from all of the speaker to make us can be more good in practicing our communication in our daily life, either in the school, in the house, with our friend, with our colleague, and our families. So hopefully that every day, starting from now and onwards, we are going to use a very good way to communicate with the people around us. Okay, so I think that's all from my side. And I pass back the floor to our beautiful MC Miss Novita. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for Dr. Ummi for the handle this session today. Before we close this session, let us take a photo together. So everyone please open your camera. Bagi para peserta bisa dinyalakan terlebih dahulu untuk kameranya. Let's take a picture. I will take a photo on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Thank you for your keen cooperation. Finally, we come to the end of the webinar today. We would like to repeat thanks to all speakers for their excellent information. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. We hope this information will be beneficial for our audience. And I hope we can meet again in another event in the future. Also, I would like to thank for our participants for attending this webinar and making this even more interesting. At least we hope to have more collaboration in the future. The webinar for today and here, we hope to see you soon. Thank you and have a nice day. Thank you for Dr. Ummi and Dr. Salim, Dr. Rima, Dr. Samad.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. And
Thank you so
assalamualaikum.
much. All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Prof. Ummi. Thank you, Dr. Samad. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Makasih ya, Nov.
Ya, Bu. Pak Is.
Yes.